Here's what it says in John chapter 10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came, Jesus said, that they may have life and have it abundantly. Heavenly Father, help us hear from your word today as we communicate truth. Lord, I pray that as a God of the comeback, that you would rise us up even if we feel down and out. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Hey, have you ever heard the verse quoted from Jeremiah 29:11? For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Who's heard that verse before? Okay, pretty much everyone in this room has heard that verse. And I picture some of you sitting at home on your couch, you probably raised your hand because we have heard this verse before in our lives. And I've heard this preached as encouragement to people to put our trust in God because God has a plan. And this verse, actually, that verse, I'm not preaching on it today, but it's far more than an apology for negative circumstances. But we hear that encouragement, and we find this truth in that verse from Jeremiah, that the destiny in our life does not come from our own ability, but it comes from a divine blessing that God affords to us. And I want to talk about that as context today. When I talk about a friend, his name is Joe. We use his whole name when you read about him in Genesis as Joseph. I've called him Joe for many years because it makes it more personable to me. You can use whichever name you like. But Joe, from a young age, believed that he was destined for greatness. And you know, a lot of the firstborns in the room understand exactly what it's like to live that way. We just deserve being great. I'm a firstborn. Any other firstborns in the room? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? It's our lot in life. And all the other number 2, number 3, number 4, however many you have, are always chasing after that in some way, it seems like. Well, Joseph believed this, that he was destined for greatness. Not necessarily compared to others, but because God was doing something in his life and something that he did would matter. So he had these dreams that many of you will know most of the parts of his story. And in these dreams, God assures Joseph that he would rise to a position of leadership. It would be over his parents and his brothers. Well, here's the dream. He was dreaming, and he tells his brothers this. Now, I want you to think about this. Talk about a large family. I have 6 children. He's talking amongst 11 other brothers. And he says, guys, I had this dream, and we were all working in the fields, and we were gathering these bundles of grain. And suddenly, mine stood up taller than all of yours. And yours just kind of bowed down before me. It's kind of a crazy dream. But that's not it. That's not the only dream I've had. I had another dream and where the sun and the moon and the stars would bow before me. I mean, this is crazy. It's interesting because from Joseph's point of view, he was one of the younger brothers. And he thought that his dreams were evidence of God's divine blessing. He's saying it doesn't matter about birth order. It doesn't matter about what I do or how many people know me. I feel like God has something great for me. And here's something to know about Joseph. It was not his ambition. It was a dream from God. It's interesting. So he's fleshing out this dream with the people that he trusted the most, that knew about him. And he's talking about this dream that I'm destined for greatness. I'm not trying with this great ambition in life. I just know God's saying something to me. But his brothers heard these dreams from a different point of view. They heard it from the point of view like, wait a minute, this is unfair privilege. What makes you better than us? We're not inferior to you. And what happened was they were trying to find their place in Joseph's dream, not Joseph's place in Joseph's dream. And then they get all mad at Joseph. Well, you're the favorite brother, blah, blah, blah. He loves you more than he loves us. It's starting to irritate me. I threw that in. That's not a quote from the Bible, but it's there. Joseph was special. He was this shepherd, and when he was shepherding sheep, he learned some powerful skills like oversight and responsibility and leadership. And Joe also displayed wisdom that his father recognized, and I guess he could say it like this, you're wise beyond the number of years you've been on this earth. Like you're more wise than your age. Joseph was a faithful steward of what God gave him. And he wasn't trying to be better than anybody else, but he was faithful to what God had given him. Well, much to his brother's chagrin, his dad, you know this, especially if you ever listen to Andrew Lloyd Webber, you really know this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google it later. But Jacob, Joseph's dad, gave him this coat of many colors. This was a sign of honor. It was a special sign of focused love for this son who was wise, who was showing promise and leadership, and who was walking in a promise of God. And he singles out this son, Jacob does, and he gives him this coat. Here's what it says in Genesis 37, verse 4. But Joseph's brothers, saw that their father loved him more than all the other brothers, and they hated him. They hated their brother and could not speak peaceably to him. Here was Joseph. Anytime he walked in the room, it sort of ruffled all their feathers. You ever been there, maybe in the office, and then that one person walks in the room and it changes everything? You feel like repenting and you haven't done anything. That's what's going on with Joseph's brothers. Joseph walks in the room, and all of their anger, all of their disdain just bubbles up within inside of them, and they alienate him. They push him aside. You think you're so great? You try dealing with 11 of us. You ever seen anyone rejected by their family, maybe because they've made a poor choice? I've seen it. You know, they call them the black sheep of the family. And, you know, I know we're blood, but... You ever see someone shunned from their family because of an unfortunate circumstance? It happens. But have you ever seen someone shunned from their family because you succeed at something and everyone in your family gets jealous? That's the golden boy. See, Joseph was honorable. He believed that God had a plan for his life. Joseph excelled in all that he did. God gave him dreams, and his brothers hated him for it. So much so that his brothers, they make this plot to kill Joseph. And I want you to picture this. So they're hanging out in the field or the desert or wherever they are, and here's Joseph strutting his stuff with his coat of many colors. And 11 of these brothers hijack Joseph, rip this special coat to shreds. That's a sign. They're saying this, I'm going to give you another sign. Have you ever had people speak into your life trying to give you other signs than what God has given you? This is what's happening with his own flesh and blood. And they beat him and they strip his coat off of him. And now he's rejected. He's alone. And they throw him in a hole in the ground. A cistern, if you will. A watering hole. That's hatred. I'm going to rip your special expression of love from Dad. I'm going to throw you in a hole. And then they killed an animal and they rubbed this shredded coat in all of this blood and whatever comes from a dead animal. Well, Joseph's brothers sold him as a slave, and they went back and told their dad with this shredded, bloody garment that Joseph was dead. Wow. Wow. I know you've read the story, and none of this story is necessarily new information, but I want to frame this for you. And as a slave, Joseph was sold again to Potiphar. Interestingly, Potiphar was an officer to the Pharaoh. So Joseph was enslaved. And if you're following along in your notes, maybe you're seeing things on the screen, I don't know, or if you go to mynorthwest.church/AUG30, you could follow along with all of this. But Joseph now found himself enslaved. Maybe out of a pit, but certainly not pursuing his dreams. He was sold as a slave to serve Potiphar, and yet he was not in the hole. He was not pursuing his dreams. He was stuck in a situation that was lording over him. Do you identify this? He was punished for something that he didn't do. Somehow, in that unfortunate reality, God showed him favor. God showed favor even though the circumstances around him were negative. God showed favor to Joseph. You know, even in dire circumstances, God offers favor to Joseph. So I'll say it like this: don't let your circumstances dictate God's favor in your life. Don't let your circumstances dictate God's favor in your life. Because when you're in a place being punished for things you don't deserve, when you're rejected, when you're thrown into a pit, when your circumstances are overwhelming you, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough friends, your own family's ignoring you, if your circumstances are shouting in your faith, do not let them eliminate God's favor in your life. Run to Him, run after Him, and God will elevate you. After a time, Potiphar's wife took a sexual interest in Joseph. This is one of the examples of sexual harassment in the Bible. She was after the boy. He was put in charge, and she made advances on him day after day after day. Till one day, she really gave him no choice. And you know the story. He drops his cloak and runs away. So listen to what happened. One of the most powerful women in the whole country who was close to him, had access to him, and wanted to be with him intimately. And Joseph stood with honor, and he ran away. What a time for God to honor him. But you know what happened? Genesis 39:20 explains, Potiphar took Joseph and threw him in prison, where all the king's prisoners were held. And there in that prison, he remained. I'm going to teach you a truth that I think can help us in our spiritual formation. Joseph's godliness did not rescue him from false accusation and imprisonment. Let's read that again. Joseph's godliness did not rescue him from false accusations and imprisonment. That's a tough thing to preach on a Sunday morning. It doesn't seem fair. Have you ever thought, I'm following after God? Have you ever felt like I'm doing the best I can do to my own ability, and I'm still in all these bad circumstances? God, what are you doing to me? Your godliness does not take away the pain and hurt of this world. We have to deal with that on some level. But what happens is we respond like this sometimes. God, are you there? Do you see what's going on? I did the right thing. Are you real? Is this whole thing really real? God, are you there? You ever felt that way? I do what's right, and I feel like I am accused of wrong things and thrown in prison. Joseph was falsely accused of sexual harassment and thrown into prison. What a track record in Joseph's life. Let me repeat some things. He was hated. He was rejected by his family and his brothers because they were jealous. He was thrown into a pit. He was sold as a slave twice. And now he was in jail for something that he didn't do. And in Genesis 39, verse 21, it starts like this. But the Lord was with Joseph in prison and showed him his faithful love. But the Lord, listen, if your circumstances are negative and the weight of this world is crashing all around your life, if people believe things about you that aren't true, if you're falsely accused, if you can't seem to overcome the difficulties in this world, I believe there's still a but the Lord statement wrapped around your life, and He can pick you up when you're down. But the Lord was with Joseph. Listen to what we're doing now. My family was against me. The economy was against me. Egypt was against me. Everything was against me. But the Lord is for me. And if God is for me, who could be against me? Do you hear it? But the Lord was with Joseph, but his circumstances were dire. The Lord was with Joseph in prison. But here's what it says. And the Lord showed him his faithful love. Listen to me. God's faithfulness is not always deliverance from a negative circumstance. God's faithfulness is saying, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because your rod and staff is with you. Comfort me. You're with me. God says, I love you when no one else does. I'm with you when no one else is. Circumstances say this, but I am the Lord, and I am with you, and I have another story for your life. Told you I was looking forward to this message. God's faithfulness, here's one worth writing down. God's faithfulness is not restricted to our circumstances. Woo! God's faithfulness is not restricted to our circumstances. There is a but the Lord statement. God was with Joseph and God is with you. God showed Joseph favor even in negative circumstances, and I believe he'll do it for us. There was a prison warden there, and the warden said, you know what? I'm going to put you in charge of all the prisoners, even though you are one. God elevated Joseph. It wasn't a pretty place to be elevated. I'd rather be the warden. Sometimes we put our eyes on things that we want rather than recognize what God wants. God wasn't ready to change the circumstances, but yet he still honored Joseph. And Joseph was put in charge of all the prisoners and here's what the Bible says, over everything that happened in the prison. While he was there, he interpreted some dreams. Here's this dreamer again. You remember the cupbearer, and he interpreted a dream that the cupbearer's life would be spared. And Joseph tells him this. I'm going to read it. It says, only remember me when it is well with you, and please do me the kindness to mention me to Pharaoh. And so get me out of this house. He said, hey, I gave you a great dream, and when it comes true, remember me. Well, he gives another dream. A baker had a dream, and when he interprets it, he says, you know, I feel bad to say this, but this dream, the interpretation is your life is going to end. And it happened. He was executed. Well, the first guy, the cupbearer, was freed, and maybe a couple of years went by, and Pharaoh now has dreams. And he's like, I can't get anyone to interpret these dreams. And then the cupbearer had an oh yeah moment. Listen, sometimes we help people succeed, and it feels like they walk all over us. And we're like, why are you treating me this way? Do you realize what I did for you? Well, that's what Joseph did for the cupbearer, and he forgot. He got out. He was free. He didn't have anything to do with them until it served him something. Even in human circumstances with wrong motives, God is still at work. So he says, I know a guy in jail. He interpreted a dream for me, and it came true. I'm going to fast forward a principle all the way to the New Testament, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6. And I want you to think about Joseph. Humble yourself, therefore, under God's mighty hand, so at the proper time he may exalt you. Joseph never made a political appeal. Joseph never made a legal appeal. Joseph never tried to talk his way out of anything. He just continued to do what he did when he was a shepherd. He was a faithful steward of whatever God gave him, for good or for bad. The New Living Translation says, 1 Peter 5:6 this way, humble yourselves under the mighty power of God, and at the right time, he will lift you up in honor. When people will put you down, God will honor you. But we've got to humble ourselves before the Lord. Well, this is what happened. Joseph has an opportunity to leave prison and interpret Pharaoh's dreams. And Pharaoh loved what he heard and saw all the gifts that Joseph was developing in the fields as a shepherd and through all the different stages of his life. And now Joseph, who was rejected and forgotten, presumed dead, is now second in command in the most powerful nation on the planet. There was a famine in the land, and you know the story, and the brothers were about to starve in their family, and they made a trip to Egypt. And they found themselves as if they were bowing bundles of grain before Joseph, bowing before the one that was towering over, saying, "Give us some food." Interesting. The Bible doesn't spell out the details, but oh, the humility that must have gripped Joseph as he lovingly looked at his brothers on their knees before him. He wasn't out to prove anything. He was out to be a good steward of the promises God gave him. And this is what he said to his brothers. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. You brought me into this position," listen to what he says, "so I could save the lives of many people." You know, some people are out to hurt us. Some people are selfish. They don't care about you or about me. They're jealous. Sometimes we thrive in life and maybe we are blessed beyond what we deserve. And instead of partnering and celebrating, people get jealous. Interestingly, we often hurt ourselves. But no matter where the hurt comes from, the Lord is all-powerful. And church, God is in control. God is in control. John 10:10 says this, "The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy." When you're looking at the destruction in your life, the killing, the stealing, let me tell you who's at work. The thief comes to steal and kill and destroy. But Jesus says, "I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly." If you're facing death, I can tell you who's working. And there's life available for you. Well, this story of Joseph reveals God's mission. Here's what Joseph said. Remember, you intended to harm me, but God meant it for good. And then he says this. I read it. "You brought me into a position so I could save the lives of many people." Sometimes God will utilize negative circumstances in your life to fulfill his mission to save many people. Eternity for the world is more important than the circumstances of Michael Smith or insert name. Salvation. This is why God the Father sent his Son for salvation. And here's his wish. Here's God's hope. He hopes that no one perish, but all come to eternal life. And he'll do what needs to be done to get the message to those who need to hear it. God utilizes our circumstances to promote his love to those who don't know it. And in our humility, when we trust God and honor his mission, in due time, God will honor us and raise us up. Here's the question. Do you need a comeback? Do you face rejection? Are you sitting in a pit right now? Are you enslaved by something? Are you under someone else's control rather than free to pursue your own dreams? Are you in prison? Are you falsely accused? Are you forgotten? Can I tell you this? What appears to be intended for harm, God intends for good. Trust the Lord. Continue to do what is right before him. Please God, because God's looking at not only your circumstances, but the eternity of the world. What an honor to be used by God. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus has come to give life and to give it more abundantly. So in your comeback, I don't know where you are in the story. You might be at the beginning and you're in a pit and you feel like it's all over. Listen, be faithful, because there is a due time where God will honor you. But God really honored Joseph through the entire story, because Joseph honored God through the entire story. You want to do something eternally significant? Honor God and let God do what God does. Amen? So today, I just want to offer to you, maybe you're watching at home, and thank you for sticking in here. Maybe you're right in this room. I want to tell you, you can have a comeback story. But here's how it works. Humble yourself before the Lord. And if God wants to use negative circumstances, let him use it. And you know what? Like, I don't know if you'll be second in charge of the most powerful nation on the planet. Maybe that would be a good idea. I don't know. Not to get political. But here's what I do know. When we humble ourselves before God, God's purpose is accomplished, and he'll honor us. That's how it works. So I just want you to bow your heads for a moment as you sit in your seat or kind of wrap this service up from your home. And if you look at your story and you feel the difficulties that you face, and you want to believe that God is at work, even though your circumstances might be saying something different, I want you to give your commitment to God, because every time we step in, we're the ones working, not God. So what I want you to do is hear what God's saying today. And if you want to commit to follow him so God can give you a comeback story, I want you just to receive it where you are. In fact, right now, Lord, I pray for those that are listening. And there's a part of Joseph's story that probably every one of us can identify with. Thank you that no weapon formed against us prospers. Sometimes weapons can hurt us, but they're not victorious over us because you are the victor. I thank you, Lord, that you're at work, and I pray that you would give great comeback stories. Lord, for those that are down and out, and maybe they're in a negative circumstance, Lord, I pray that you would give success in that circumstance to people. I pray you would give them favor. I pray you continue to give dreams. And Lord, regardless of what everyone thinks around us, help us to live according to the pleasure of one, and that is you. You are our audience. Be at work in amazing ways. Touch this church. Let your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen.